Welcome to Bear Tracks, the official podcast for Butler Community College. In each episode, we feature inspirational and lively conversations with our graduates about their memories of student days, stories, challenges, and career highlights. We have so many alumni who are leading change and innovation in their respective fields around the world. And whether you're a recent graduate or a seasoned professional, we hope you'll find inspiration and new perspectives through the conversations we have on this show. Thank you so much for joining us and enjoy the episode. Welcome to Bear Tracks, the official Butler Community College podcast. I'm so excited to have this inaugural episode going. I'm your host. My name is Hayley Hobbs. I'm the Director of Donor Relations at Butler Community College Foundation, but I am also a former student and a graduate and somebody who's just obsessed with Butler Community College and all the amazing things it does. And so I knew when I was starting this podcast who I wanted as my first guest, both from my time as a student that kind of overlapped with this guest, but also just knowing what she has done beyond Butler and then some. And so I'm excited to introduce our very first guest on Bear Tracks, which is Kate Garnes. Welcome, Kate.
Hi, Hayley. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, too. We're just a couple of former vocal music girlies from Butler.
We sure are.
Having a chat all these years later. And you definitely were somebody I wanted to reach out to, and I appreciate your swift response.
Absolutely. As soon as I saw the email, like I said, I was like, oh, podcast, it's for Butler. Sign me up right now. So,
and that's the kind of energy I want. So we're going to have a little chat about your time at Butler and kind of what the impact it made on you was. And I'm going to start with that easy first question you have to start with on something like this, which is what led you to choose Butler Community College as your first educational path?
Yeah, great question. So I am actually not originally from Kansas. I'm originally from Missouri, born and raised. And when I was a sophomore in high school, I got into competitive show choir through my high school. And because of that, the internet was still slightly new at this point. And I Googled summer show choir camp. It was in like the spring or so of 2004. And I knew I wanted to go to show choir camp. And there were two different kind of big options, Show Choir Camps of America, which was very expensive, and Butler Show Choir Showcase. So I did the big, scary, brave thing. I had never been west of Missouri, and I got in a car with my mom and we drove 4.5 hours, and she dropped me off at Butler's campus, and it was terrifying and amazing all at the same time. And I loved it. I was there. I stayed in the dorms for a week, worked with the headliners, worked with Valerie LaPointe-Mack, and it was great. And I knew I loved it. I didn't know I wanted to go to college there yet. Ended up going to camp. So that was 04, 05. And then I thought I was going to go to college in Missouri. And I went on a campus visit to a school in my hometown, and I hated it. And mom was like, let's just look at Butler. And we went for a campus visit, and I knew instantly that this is where I was meant to go. It was never my plan to go out of state. It was never my plan to go away from home. But just everyone from the advisors to the person who gave me my campus tour to the vocal music department, it was just a whole different experience. And so I moved to El Dorado, Kansas when I was 18 and never looked back. So the vocal music department is definitely what brought me in.
Yeah, it's a special experience. I went through the same kind of thing and had a very traditional student experience like you, but Butler was the only place I wanted to go. And it's because of that choir experience and having that camp experience where you just felt like this was your home.
Yeah.
And this was it, right? And it's the same for so many students for so different reasons too, which is awesome.
Absolutely.
Can you share a memorable moment or experience from Butler days that significantly impacted you?
Oh my gosh, there's too many to count. Let's see. So because I had music theory at 8 o'clock in the morning every day, a lot of us music students would go in and go into the cafeteria at the same time. And I got to know the workers in the cafeteria, and they would have my omelet ready for me, my little cheese omelet ready for me to come in. And that just meant so much to me. I mean, I could talk about the vocal music department for days, but thinking kind of past that, I was also a Grizzly ambassador. So I got to do a lot with like outreach, which was so much fun. But there's two things that come to mind. One of them one of the girls on the women's basketball team had never seen snow. And we got hit by a huge snowstorm. And I think she was from like Texas. And her joy was so infectious that we built, me and her and a couple other, mind you, I didn't know her, but she was so excited, and I am a very excitable person. Me and her and a couple other headliners built the biggest, tallest snowman I've ever seen right in between some of the dorms. And that memory just sticks out so much to me because that was Butler in a nutshell. You stepped up for people, you went and you met new people, and you helped people, and you were kind, and you did what you could to make everyone feel welcome. And I think that is still something that is Butler at its core. Yeah, that's just like one big memory that I have, is just seeing this basketball player be so excited about seeing snow. And then it was like, well, we're not just going to see snow. We're going to build the largest snowman. I mean, it was probably 6 or 7 feet tall. It was so big. I still don't know how we did that. But yeah.
Maybe had some height there to help you out.
Yeah, a little bit. It wasn't coming from my 5-foot self. So
No. I love your story about the cafeteria because I experienced that as well. And internally at Butler now, as an employee, we talk a lot about how all of us impact student experience and student success. And I think that it can feel like maybe some departments don't think that that's the case, but your story highlights exactly that everybody who's on the campus touches a student's life and lends to what makes Butler so special and makes it a great experience overall. I just love that so much. You're making me reminisce.
Yeah, absolutely. There was also my advisor. It was Gary Royce, and he has since retired, but I can't even remember why I needed to go into his office. I needed help with something, getting some classes figured out. And he was, and still is to this day, one of the kindest men I've ever known. Even when I graduated Butler, went off to Wichita State, then went to work for Disney, he would reach out all the time just to check in on me. Like, who does that? He was an advisor to me in life, not just, well, let's see if we can switch this algebra class for natural sciences or something. Like, he really invested in me as a person. And I mean, we're still friends on Facebook. I actually really wanted to fly in and surprise him for his retirement party. I wasn't able to do it, and I'm still bummed about that. But just talking about how the staff goes above and beyond, he didn't have to do that for me. I was a little dinky music student. I was wild and annoying and energetic, and I was a lot, but he really made me feel seen in a world, in the collegiate world, that can make you feel very lost. And he wasn't the only one. I mean, there was one time in the cafeteria, oh my gosh, and I'm not going to, Matt was his first name. It was the marketing department. They were just like sitting eating, and for some reason I was like, can I sit with you guys? I have no idea why. And it's just everyone from the president of the college to just advisors and the staff in the cafeteria. Everyone made you feel, at least for me, someone who was very far from home, made you feel at home.
Yeah. It's the goal. It's the Butler family that we talk about and that we enact. I hope, everybody has such a great experience, because it is the thing that you go to another institution and you miss it. You realize the lack is there after you leave Butler. And the number of times as a student I heard, and the number of times I've heard now in my capacity in the foundation, I wish Butler was a 4-year college. It just speaks to the strength of that bond that everybody has with each other. And not to over romanticize it, but it's true. It happens every day. And I think that's just part of the overall aura of Butler.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%.
So you talked a little bit about your future. You went to Wichita State University after Butler, and then you got a really cool opportunity at Disney. Can you talk about that transition from community college through those years?
Yeah, that was really hard at first. That transition was hard because, and coming from the vocal music department at Butler, it's very tight-knit, especially within the groups, but all together. I mean, I was friends with everybody. And that was hard for me to go to a bigger school. And like I said, I had been very involved at Butler. I was a tour guide. I was a tutor, an English tutor. I was a Grizzly ambassador. I was a headliner. But I got to Wichita State and needed to find a place again. It was so easy to find my place at Butler. And so I kind of did a little bit of what I did at Butler, where I just threw myself in headfirst into everything and then was like, I made a mistake. I made a mistake. I did too much. But I got involved in the vocal music department because my major, so I got an associate's degree at Butler in music and then went on to get my degree in vocal music education. Learned very quickly that I did not want to be a music teacher. People tell you for so long, you'd be such a good music teacher. And I knew I loved kids and I knew I loved motivating and I knew I loved performing and teaching. But every time that my professors would say, when you're a music teacher, I would literally go, can you not put that on me? Like, can we not say that? And I'll tell you what, I leaned back on Valerie Lapointe-Mack and Ron Garber and a lot of my professors at Butler for guidance because I felt very lost. Gary Royce, I reached out to a lot for guidance. And I had to be really honest with myself about, okay, this isn't what I'm meant to do. I'm going to get the degree. It was never a question whether or not I was going to get the degree, but I've got to figure out my journey. I've got to figure out my path, what it is I'm meant to do in this world, because this isn't it. I feel like it's something in that field, but I was miserable. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I found out about the Disney College program, which if you don't know, if you're listening to this and you don't know what the college program is, it's basically where college students can move down to Orlando and a little bit in Anaheim and work for college credit. You work for the company, you can take business classes, and you get a little bit of college credit. And so I did that. I was supposed to be there for 3 months. I stayed for a year, and I was a performer. My auditions got in. So I was a performer. That year, I did come back to Wichita State and finish and got my degree. And then I was a full-time and part-time. I bounced between the two for about 10 years. So post-pandemic, things have taken off other directions, but that was my journey. But I will tell anybody who asks how I got into Disney, I learned from Valerie Lapointe-Mack. Yeah. Like, she instilled a work ethic. And for those listening, Valerie Lapointe-Mack is one of the head choral directors at Butler. She's phenomenal. But she's the one who taught me, if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. And you look out for each other and you show up prepared and you show up polished. And I took everything that I learned from her is why I got into Disney and is why I have the work ethic that I have now.
And you've turned that passion for performing and being with young people into this speaking business. Do you think that you would have gotten there without all of the other things we've talked about, without your experiences at Butler and without your time at Disney?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. So let me give a little bit of a backstory. I went to work for Disney, and again, I loved it. I don't think anyone ever tells us, especially when we're high schoolers and college students, because we're so focused on a degree, right? We're so focused on, I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to get a criminal justice degree, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to get an MD. Nobody tells you that you're allowed to change your mind. Nobody tells you that you are allowed to go into a degree and realize that it's not right for you and you can switch. That's not talked about. Or you can get the degree, go into the profession and realize this is not what you thought it was going to be, because it is different from the classroom into the real world. And luckily, again, Smack, we call her Smack, but Valerie Lapointe-Mack, she gave me permission to change my mind, because I reached out to her and said, Smack, I don't want to be a music teacher. I don't know what I want to do, but this isn't it. So I went to work for Disney. Well, then about 6 years into my career with Disney, and I mean, most people, this is their dream, right? To be some of the most iconic characters of all time, being in shows that are watched by 20,000 people every day. I mean, it's a big deal. But I realized I wasn't happy and I couldn't pinpoint why. I was living so many people's dream. And at that point, I was 28, had just gotten out of a relationship, a long-term relationship. I had no children, I had no husband, and I was playing dress up for a living. So in all intents and purposes, I had failed, what felt like failure. And so I went to my 10-year high school reunion. This was in 2016. And I looked around and I was like, I failed. Like, I enjoy my job, and somebody came up to me and they said, what's wrong? And I said, I failed. And they go, what do you mean? And I said, everybody else figured it out and I didn't. And I don't know what I did wrong. And this girl looked at me and she goes, well, Kate, life doesn't always look how we think it's going to look for us. What do you want your life to look like? And I said, because I had nothing to lose at this point, I said, I want to be a motivational speaker. I'd never told anyone because I didn't think, number one, that it was possible. I also didn't think I had a story. And as soon as I said those words, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that was why I was put on this earth, was to be a speaker. So I got on a plane to come back to Orlando from Missouri, and I got out my phone and I wrote a letter. And in this letter, I said, I have no idea what I'm doing. I know I'm writing to you because you have gained what I view as success. No clue what I'm doing. Do you have any advice for me? And Miss Mack was one of the people I sent the letter to. And of the 8 people I sent it to, mostly in the entertainment world, about 4 or 5 responded and just said, immerse yourself, do what you have to do. And she said, and Smack even said, she was like, Kate, that's perfect for you. Like that, if you think about it, everything lined up. I love teenagers. I love motivating. I love music. I love performing. I love teaching. All of that is encompassed in speaking. So it took every step that I had along the way to get me to where I am now. So I don't think I would be where I am now had I not gone to Butler, which then led to Wichita State, which then led to Disney, which then led to now living as a full-time speaker in Atlanta.
It's the trick of hindsight where we learn things that we don't understand when we're young, and then we understand them when we're older. Oh, I wish I had, but it's not about that. It's about the journey, kind of like you said. I'm curious, as an educational institution, of course, we're working with younger students now. Generation Z is coming through, and I find them to be a very interesting population of students. They're very passionate and heartfelt. What can you speak to the audience about Generation Z and some of the younger kids coming up in the world?
Gen Z, they're fascinating. They are fascinating. Haley, are we roughly the same age? When did you graduate high school?
2007.
Okay, cool. So yeah, we're basically exactly the same age. We know a world without the internet, without cell phones, without possibly video games. We know a world where your entertainment was go outside and come home when the streetlights come on. That was how we were raised. We are now seeing Gen Z. They're so smart and they're so creative because they have grown up with the internet and creativity and content creation at their fingertips from a very, very young age. So I think they are going through the same judgment that us millennials went through. The things that they create and the voice that they have is unbelievable to me. I say, because my target audience as a speaker is middle schoolers and high schoolers. And I will say, I'm so passionate about you all because I think it's really, really hard to be a middle schooler and a high schooler in today's world. That same thing, the internet, the same thing that makes them so brilliant and creative is also pitted against them.
Sure.
Where they are trying to figure out who they are, how to exist in this world, how to feel comfortable in their own bodies, how to communicate with others. And they've got these things in their hands, these phones or these computers that are constantly like, but do you want to do that? But do you want to wear that? But shouldn't you vote like this? But shouldn't you speak like this? But maybe you shouldn't eat that. But maybe you should eat this. They are constantly, in a way that our generation did not have to deal with, thank God. They are dealing in real time with trying to figure out who they are in a world that is trying to tell them who to be constantly. Yeah. They never get a break from the constant social media influence on their lives. Now, they are brilliant. The things that they create online, the way that they have stepped up, the way they've stood up fighting back, they are not afraid to be outspoken because they are watching in real time people being outspoken on so many things online. They aren't afraid to stand up for their own thoughts. They aren't afraid to stand up for their own creations. And I love that. And I do everything that I can to instill that in any teen that I talk to. Like, did you know that you're brilliant? Did you know you're hilarious? Did you know that this world is a better place because you and your art and your smile and your light are in it? They aren't told that enough. So that is what I wish that I could tell to Gen Z. They're brilliant.
And it's where a place like Butler, to kind of bring it back, because I got us off on that tangent totally, and I appreciate your thoughts because I feel similarly about them for the most part. It's where a place like Butler, where it's small and allows you to continue to foster that creativity and that personal growth in a hopefully safe and welcoming environment, I
Oh,
think
yeah.
thrives, because I would have been swallowed up at a university. And I think to all of the things that you just spoke about with how many roadblocks are thrown up in their self-fulfillment journey, or even just
Yeah.
becoming a person journey, someplace smaller like Butler that has this just total family feel is somewhere that these students can thrive. But a lot of times, and this is kind of a perception question, the perception of community college is that it's not good enough, or that you're too good to go to it. And I wouldn't say that I've noticed a ton of change over the years about that, but have you seen that or experienced that? And what do you think are the biggest misconceptions about that?
Yeah. Yeah. I have experienced that. I have seen that. I even experienced it with telling people, oh, yeah, I went to Butler first. And they were like, oh, you went to Butler, or, oh, you went to a junior college. And it's like, yeah. And guess what? I don't have student debt. And I took the same English class that you took. And also, I went to Butler because their music department is so good. I mean, when you looked across the music department when I was there, at least a third was from out of state. We went to Butler. I got a better music education and life education than I would. I mean, just like you, Hayley, I would have been eaten alive if I had gone to a 4-year school right off. It's not for everybody. I needed to make my mistakes that I made at Butler. I needed to have the mentors that I had in a small class setting. Because think about it, when I then got to the 4-year, I was still in small classes, because at that point I was now into my niche degree. I wasn't in a 300-person algebra class. I had to take a couple of those, not very many, but I needed that one-on-one instruction. It's why everyone doesn't start at a junior college or at a community college is beyond me. I know it's not for everybody, but you will save money. You will get small class sizes. You will get one-on-one help. There's so many resources that are available between financial aid and scholarships and tutoring, and it's bonkers to me. So that's a big thing, because again, I speak to high schoolers. I say, have you looked at your community college? Or when kids tell me, well, I think I'm just going to start at the junior college or the community college, I'm like, absolutely. Why would you not do that? That is brilliant. Save your money and get the smaller class sizes. And also, it's really good. Do that. So
absolutely. I think anybody who has had a positive experience at a community college is happy to advocate for it and to try to help guide prospective students, or maybe people who are bouncing from a 4-year university or something like that, or from a career going back to school. I think it's always great to make sure they know the option is there and it's solid, and definitely go for it. As we start to close out here, I thought I'd ask you, what are you currently working on? And do you have any goals you're trying to reach right now in your career or future?
So I actually just had a big shift. I got married last May of the 2023. So anybody who tells you, ladies or gentlemen, or anyone in between out there, that you have to get married before you're 30, I was 35. So I finally settled down, more or less. Actually, not really. We got married in May of 23. And about 3 months ago, my husband and I moved up to Atlanta, Georgia from Orlando, because he's an actor. So he does film and television. And this is where he needed to be. And I said, I'm not moving to LA. So we are now based out of Atlanta. And I'm going through another big life shift, because I was very connected in Orlando between the theme parks of performing, but also DJing. In addition to speaking, I also DJ. And so I'm now having to rebuild my brand and my business as a DJ in a city where I don't know anyone. I am still speaking. I am gearing up to start the 2024-2025 school year, because I speak to kids or teens. I follow the school year. But yeah, I am actively pulling out all of the confidence and marketing things that I learned through the vocal music department at Butler, and through Gary Royce, and through all of these people that meant so much to me from my past. I'm actively pulling on the things that I learned to okay, how do I market in a city that I don't know? How do I know my right clientele? What am I doing? Which sounds ridiculous, but yeah, so we're in a big transition period, but it's going to be good. I'm going to trust that where we're supposed to be, and that what I call God, some people call the universe or energy, what I call God, God is still good. And I've got a good team of support behind me, including a lot of the people I knew from Butler.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to share about your Butler journey that we haven't really touched on? I know we've kind of run the gamut here.
Yeah. No, I am so grateful. I still have like my Butler hoodies and shirts and stuff that I still wear very proudly. I am so proud to be a Grizzly and to call that my alma mater. If anyone is listening to this thinking about going to Butler, do it. You will not regret it. At least try it. It may not be the right fit for you. A four-year university may not be the right fit for you, but there is something very, very special about Butler that still makes a difference to me today. So
wonderful.
Yeah, it's good.
It is good. Thank you so much for your time. Do you want to share where people can find you on the internet or your projects?
Yeah, I am on all social media platforms at Kate Garnes Live, KateGarnesLive. I used to do a podcast. During the pandemic, I was doing my own podcast called Give Yourself Room, which was give yourself room to be exactly who you are, because who you are is already enough. And that's on all major streaming services. And I am going to be bringing that back soon as we're going through this giant life pivot. Or you can shoot me an email at kate@kategarnes.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Kate. Again, thank you for being my first guest, a fabulous first guest. I knew that I was going to hit a home run with you as soon as you emailed me, and I appreciate getting to reconnect with you and knowing that you're still bleeding purple and gold.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to Bear Tracks, the official podcast of Butler Community College. We hope you found the conversation as entertaining and enlightening as we did. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform, and don't forget to visit our website or email us at beartrackspodcast@butlercc.edu for more resources and opportunities to connect. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to bringing you more thought-provoking conversations on the next episode of Bear Tracks.